On Monday, September 12th, 2022 at approximately 2:15 p.m., 48-year-old Andrew Hong, a 22-year veteran of the Toronto Police, walks into the Tim Hortons coffee shop at 3110 Argentina Road near Winston Churchill Boulevard in the city of Mississauga. Officer Hong, referred to as the Gentle Giant, was on his lunch break. He was in the area instructing a motorcycle operations course and was at the restaurant buying coffee for himself and a few of his fellow officers. As he waited in line, a man in a fluorescent construction vest, who had been in the restaurant for approximately 2 hours and 15 minutes, walks up to Officer Andrew Hong and shoots him. Point blank range, execution style. While Officer Hong laid on the floor, fighting for his life, 40-year-old Sean Petrie attempts to disarm him. Although we do not have information regarding the type of firearm Officer Hong was carrying, most Toronto police officers are assigned Glock handguns that are carried in special holsters equipped with a safety mechanism. It seems to have worked this time, as Sean Petrie was unsuccessful. Fellow officers from multiple forces who were also attending the motorcycle course happened to be in the plaza buying food at the time. They hear the gunfire and respond immediately, but Sean Petrie was gone. As frantic patrons began running out of the restaurant in a panic, Petrie, realizing that he was not going to be able to steal the firearm, leaves Tim Hortons, crosses the road, and enters a parking lot. There, he soon identifies an individual to carjack. Petrie approaches a black Jeep Cherokee SUV, driven by a male, and puts his plan into motion. It's safe to assume that Sean Petrie was met with resistance, and that's when he shoots his second victim. The unnamed male victim was transported to a trauma center where he underwent surgery, and although he suffers from life-altering injuries, he is in stable condition and is expected to survive. Petrie, now driving the stolen black Cherokee, drives out of the parking lot and flees the scene. He then heads towards the neighboring city of Milton. His destination? MK Auto Body Repair, a collision repair business under 20 minutes away from the coffee shop where Andrew Hong was gunned down. Petrie once worked at MK Auto Body Repair, but unfortunately, he was not there looking to be rehired. Sean Petrie enters the repair shop and asks to speak to the owner. According to a witness, Petrie waited for about 20 minutes for the owner to get there. After a short conversation, the carnage continues. Sean Petrie pulls out the handgun he was carrying. The owner, Shaquille Ashraf, reaches for the gun, but sadly, he is shot. Police have not released many details about what transpired at the auto body shop, but one of the victims, 48-year-old Shiraz Afzal, recalls the terror that he had to live through. Afzal, who was attending to a customer at the time of the shooting, began by saying he always heard hammering and other loud noises, and they were commonplace at the shop, but it did not take long for him to realize that he was hearing gunfire. He describes Petrie as having a very aggressive attitude as he approached Afzal and began discharging the firearm. According to Afzal, Sean Petrie had shot one shot between his legs, fired another shot that missed his head, and a third that got lodged in his leg. Another employee, an exchange student, attempted to run away, but was hit by gunfire. To Afzal's luck, he heard the gun click, signifying that it was empty, and Petrie, left without the unfair advantage that he once possessed, decides to flee. At 2:50 p.m., Halton Regional Police respond to multiple reports of gunfire at MK Auto Body Repair. Once inside, the police locate 3 victims, all suffering from gunshot wounds. The owner, 38-year-old Shaquille Ashraf, a father of 2 young girls aged just 11 and 12, was pronounced dead at the scene. The other 2 victims were rushed to a trauma center. Shiraz Afzal, the 43-year-old man who relived the terrifying experience and was shot in the leg, has been released from the hospital and is expected to survive. The final victim, Satwinder Singh, 28-year-old MBA graduate from India, an international student in Canada, has died less than a week later from his injuries. Sean Petrie, after senselessly destroying the lives of 5 victims and their entire families, is now back on the move. Using quote-unquote investigative techniques, examples of which could include tracking a cell phone or vehicle, police finally locate Petrie inside the Hamilton Cemetery, which is approximately 34 kilometers or slightly over 21 miles away from MK Auto Body Repair. The Special Investigative Unit, which investigates all police shootings, amongst other accusations of impropriety, have announced that there was likely a shootout at the scene. 2 Hamilton police officers, as well as 2 Halton Region police officers, discharged their weapons. The SIU also reported that 7 Hamilton officers and 10 Halton officers witnessed the whole ordeal. At 4:33 p.m., just 2 hours and 18 minutes after the first shot had been fired by Sean Petrie, Halton police report that the suspect had been apprehended and shot dead. Sean Petrie was a 40-year-old man who lived in his car and was estranged from his family. Sean Petrie was no stranger to police. He had an extensive criminal history that included convictions for, are you ready for this? Assault, armed robbery, carrying a concealed weapon, careless storage of a firearm, possession of a loaded, prohibited, or restricted firearm, possession of property obtained by crime, theft under $5,000, failure to comply with a probation order, and failure to comply with recognizance. A real stand-up member of society, this guy was. As per the conditions associated with his 2010 release from prison, Sean Petrie was barred from entering a large part of Toronto without express permission from his parole officer. He was prohibited from the area bounded by Kipling to the west, Eglinton to the south, Steeles to the north, and Allen Road to the east. He was last convicted in 2015 for a criminal driving offense.